Sam, while we're doing the press conference, can you make sure that door is closed and we have to direct people around the back? Because if not, if you will hear that.
Or just lock it.
It's
It's
on
all the
both
doors. It's
doors.
all the doors. It's all the doors. You know. Yeah.
You tried me? We tried to get it. You said it's on.
3 minutes. 3
3 minutes?
minutes. So we got 2 minute countdown.
Can you make it mindful to minimize the walking due to the hardwood floor? It's shaking all of the cameras. Oh, no. Just if you can keep the...
We're not live yet, right? You got to give me a countdown. It's 2 minutes. So you want to do a countdown? Okay. As we get ready to start the press conference, first again, thank everyone for joining us today for this official opening. Many of you all were here for the ribbon cutting. And so in April of last year, and today is our official day that we can say we're open for business. We did some preliminary testing, right? And the blessing was that our leader, who bears the name for our institute, was a part of that whole process before he joined the ancestors. So we're going to do a countdown, and I was given logistical instructions, so don't beat me up, beat up the camera people. They asked us if we're walking once we start because of the what'd you say now, babe, about the floor?
Shake.
The floor shakes. So just, if you're moving during the thing, just kind of just tip. Okay. And let us know when we're live, Angelo.
You need some water. You need some water.
Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, roll.
Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Campbell. I'm President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. And I'm here joined by
George T. French Jr., President of Clark Atlanta University.
and the two of us are the co-founders, if you will,
Yes.
of the National Coalition's Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute for Leadership, Civic Engagement, Economic Empowerment, and Social Justice. So that's a round of applause for that. This momentous occasion is a tribute to the late Thomas W. Dortch Jr., a remarkable individual whose love for our community, our nation, and really the world was passionate about equity and social justice and had an unwavering dedication to fighting for the least among us to continue to inspire us today. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to President George T. French Jr. for his instrumental partnership in forging the NCBCP Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute and elevating the issues that are most important to our community. As an alumni of Clark Atlanta University, CC 83, you clap for that. It fills me with really humility, more than pride, quite honestly, to feel that God allowed me to come back and pour into the institution that poured in so much into me. Frederick Douglass taught us about liberation and freedom. We stand here inspired by Douglass's words, power concedes nothing without a demand. And so when we talk about power in our communities and why this institute and why now, All you have to do is turn on the news, unfortunately, and see what's happening, and that this institution will, not hope, will play a part in making sure that this democracy thrives for all of us, that economic opportunity is there for all of us, that political empowerment is there for all of us, and so much more, and most especially that we're able to pour into the generations that are on Clark Atlanta University's campus across the South. The Institute is focused on the South. And so this vision that we started out talking about having 4 offices, and me and Tommy met with Dr. French when he first came aboard here in 2019 and talked about what we want to do to have more presence in the South. And Dr. French helped Tommy and I say, we can do big more than this. So this is part of that vision, and give us the space that we can have for experiential learning for our young people, but not just for the students, but also for community leaders who many times don't get that opportunity to have a fellowship, opportunity to be able to pour in. So it's about the least of these, but also bringing the what they call a talented 10th, if you will, but all of us coming together for our communities. And so the National Coalition works hard in the South. I want to have our state leaders that are here, just wave your hand, we'll introduce you later, that are in the room. Alabama in the house. Is Alabama in the house? Florida is in the house. Georgia, of course, is in the house. Louisiana is in the house. Mississippi is in the house. Have I missed anyone? And then anybody from any other part of the country, just wave and say, we here too. We want to thank our founding and new sponsors, including AARP, AT&T, the Coca-Cola Company, Comcast, NBC Universal, Goldman Sachs, Neo Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Neo Philanthropy, this place echoes, y'all, Infrastructure Fund, T-Mobile, Verizon, and we know there'll be others. But we thank them, so we give them a round of applause and thank them. We will be focusing on voting rights, racial justice, economics, and other social justice issues that disproportionately impact Black and marginalized communities. We will also unveil today our Black Women's Roundtable Digital Equity, Connectivity, and Women's Economic Empowerment project, and you'll hear more from that from our senior advisor. This launch of the Institute, also today, following this press conference, we will have our first inaugural Southern Organizing Leadership Convening that will bring together over 100 national and state-based leaders and organizations from diverse sectors. We are here to strategize, collaborate, and plan for short and long-term solutions that counter racial, economic, and systemic assaults on Black Americans and indeed the nation in the South and beyond. So as we embark on this journey, let us go back to the words of our ancestor, Frederick Douglass: if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Together, let us build a future where hope, justice, equity, and equality prevail. And I'll turn it over to our leader, President French.
Thank you. Let's give another round of applause. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for standing on sacred ground this afternoon. It's sacred ground because Melanie made intimations about the ancestors. She also made reference to the talented 10th. We know that William Edward Burghardt Du Bois was the faculty member here for 24 years. He did his greatest work here. This is holy and sacred ground. It's holy and sacred ground because these are the grounds upon which James Weldon Johnson walked. Sacred ground because these are the grounds that so many scholars like Melanie and Getchell and so many in the room upon which you all walk. But right now, I'm celebrating sacred ground because of the ancestor, the one who just became an ancestor, Thomas W. Dortch. His wife, Carol, is here, and before I go any further, I want to acknowledge Carol, and thank you, Carol, for what you mean and have meant to our community. I see you waving your hand back there. Carol Dortch. Thank you all. Thank you, friends. I see influencers in the room. Thank you for coming. I see the lead of the Propel Center, Dr. Charles Gibbs, is here with us. Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. And I see the chair of the board of the United Negro College Fund, the first African-American chair of the board of the United Negro College Fund, Milton Jones, is also joining us, and so many that all of you all are influencers. And I just really want to thank you for coming to this official launch of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute. For what? For leadership, civic engagement, economic empowerment, and the last, social justice. Social justice. We're talking about bringing all of those together. Not just social justice, but we also need to get paid through economic empowerment. That's where we are. We're not marching anymore just to be marching, but we've come together now to organize and to announce this institute, which will serve as a vital platform for building a pipeline of talent, organizing the South. You all, this is the essence of what we're talking about. We're talking about organizing the South. We're talking about doing now research. We're talking about protecting our democracy like we never thought we would before. As president, I'm proud to be part of this historic moment. In Clark Atlanta University, we are eager to make sure that this initiative is successful. The South has a rich tradition of civil rights activism. We understand that. And it's crucial that we continue to build upon that legacy by nurturing and developing the next generation of leaders. We must prepare them to be not just leaders, but organizers. The National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute, will play a pivotal role in identifying, training, and supporting emerging leaders who are passionate about social justice, economic empowerment, and civic engagement in the South. By investing in this pipeline of talent, we can ensure that communities in the South have strong, effective advocates who can bring about meaningful change and advance the interests of Black America. I have the best staff to be found anywhere, to be sure. Thank you, Sam Burston and Dr. Lucas, for being with us, but you all made this speech too long, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and I'm gonna have to end this by telling you all thank you. This is about a think tank. What is this about? It's about a think tank. It's not about just saying, well, how many people can we get to the polls? And no, we're talking about now predictive analytics, right? We're talking about big data. We're talking about forecasting. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about disaggregating these different districts, voting polls, and determining exactly what percentages we need to win before we put our energies somewhere else. We have experts that have come that will share some of those ideas with us, but that's what we're really all about, is a think tank. Because as I close, we are intellectuals, and we are unapologetic at Clark Atlanta University. And I would have you to know that this is the highest point in the city of Atlanta, where we are right now. That means that during Paul's days and during Aristotle's days, that was the Acropolis. Now we are at the modern day Acropolis, okay? Where Plato and Aristotle and Euripides and Aristophanes, where they debated the great political issues of the day. That's what we're going to do right here through the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation, Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute. Welcome to Clark Atlanta University.
Whew, thank you, Doc. You were a preacher too, right?
Yeah.
I was married to, okay, I digress. Scratch that off of me. Good guy, good guy.
We're streaming.
We now will have remarks from our Board of Directors, Vice Chair of the Board, Diane Babineau, to come up. And if any board members want to stand with her, come up now.
I'll make it quick and short, but anyway, thank you all for joining us today as we launch the NCBCP Tommy W. Dortch Jr. Institute for Leadership, Civic Engagement, Economic Empowerment, and Social Justice in partnership with Clark Atlanta University. We want to thank you. This institute, as stated before, is a very important platform. Say it again, very important platform of talent for organizing the South, fostering talent in research, and expanding and protecting our democracy in the great tradition of our civil rights leader. And as a board member of the NCBCP, I'm proud to be a part of this historical moment and the important work that lies ahead. And I want to thank everyone for coming out, because look at the walls. Everything in here is touched by an idea. Now we have to make sure that we take this idea and move it along for the future of our everybody. I'm not going to say just the children, family, everybody. And thank you again for being a part of this historical moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you again, board members, just wave. I know it's tight in here. We'll have remarks on behalf of Thomas W. Dortch Jr. family, Merrill Jackson, Executive Director, National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame. And I don't know if Carol's going to stand with you or not. Okay. Okay. And 100 black men. Come up, just stand.
Dr. Milton Jones?
Yes, Milton Jones.
You mind Dr. Gibbs joins us with?
Yeah.
Now, but listen, my mother told me about standing next to men taller than me, so I'm going to go. Okay. Y'all good over there?
No, man.
Yes.
No, never, ever.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. In honor of Tommy Dortch, and on behalf of the Thomas W. Dortch Jr. family, I am Merrill Jackson, the Executive Director for the National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame, in which Mr. Dortch was the founding CEO for many years. Carol Dortch and the Dortch family would like to first thank you for your attendance here on the Clark Atlanta University campus under the presidential leadership of Dr. French. And we thank you for your attendance to this official launch and inaugural leadership conference. The National Coalition on Black Civic Participation added the name Thomas W. Dortch Jr. as an exemplar of service, compassion, dedication, and sacrifice for what he believed in, which was being an essential component of sustaining communities, civic responsibilities, and improving the quality of life for cities, states, the nation, and the world. Know that Mr. Dortch, that he is looking upon us today with a hopeful smile. The Dortch family would like to thank you, the original and significant listed sponsors, for joining with us. You are the dream of possibility happening. In closing, the Dortch family is excited about the future plans of the Institute and hope that you will all continue to support and play major roles in its existence by leaving a legacy of leadership for future generations. We join you in the execution to rebuild hope, justice, equity, and equality. Thank you and enjoy.
Did you want to say anything about the 100? Can't have the 100 not saying it.
Well, it's-
Thomas hit me on the shoulder. 100's in the room.
I feel them from up above. It is a privilege to be here and speak on behalf of the 100 Black Men of America
I remember when we had the ribbon cutting not long ago, one of the things that was very important to our leader and Chair Emeritus Tommy Dortch was that civic participation and leadership had to be more than just a moment, it had to be a movement. And so in that sense, we are a part of that movement together. And the more that we come together as a think tank, the more that we take our thoughts and turn them into action, the more that we then teach others how to take that and do even more with it, the more sustainable we'll be, the more of a movement we'll have and a better world we'll have. And we're very proud as the 100 Black Men of America to be a part of that movement. Thank you.
Now we will hear from our sponsors and really our partners, all of you all. And for the National Coalition, when we came to you all with this idea, and it didn't take, and we have to do heavy convincing. And you all know the organization, but you also know Tommy, whether it's a long time or short time. So we will hear from, in this order, and you all want to come up individually, Ms. Alba Castillo-Balin, Vice President, Stakeholder and Community Engagement, The Coca-Cola Company. Michelle Cover, Director, Strategic Alliances, Verizon. Stacy Cole, Senior Director of Government and Regulatory Affairs, Comcast NBC Universal. I want to also acknowledge in the room Deborah Tyler Horton, Georgia State Director for AARP. And following them, we have two of our partners and sponsors who are on Zoom, and I'll acknowledge them from AT&T and Goldman Sachs following. So that would be Alba, Michelle, Stacy.
Thank you, Melanie, and good afternoon to all. And congratulations. I want to start by saying congratulations on beginning this new chapter of civil leadership with the launch, as we've said, the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, the Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute here at Clark Atlanta University. I bring greetings and good wishes from the Coca-Cola family, as well as gratitude for the privilege of having a role in this milestone event. We anticipate with enthusiasm the great work that the Institute will do, promoting civic education and research, policy changes, deep understanding of our nation's needs, and bold actions for social justice. And in this special moment, we want to express our admiration for those whose efforts have made this happen. So let's give a round of applause to Melanie and her team, President Dr. Frank and his team. We at Coca-Cola also salute our fellow sponsors, and we stand proudly with you as supporters of the ideals and goals this institute represents. Today, I also want to say that we all join in remembering with true affection the man whose name this institute bears, Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Tommy was a great friend of our company, as well as a guiding light for this country. For me personally, he was my mentor, he was a friend, and most of all, he was my role model. Tommy left us all too soon, and the sense of his loss is still keen. But his imprint on our nation, state, and the city will never be forgotten, which is how fitting is that this institute will be a lasting landmark of Tommy's work for full participations in the opportunities and blessings of this great nation. And what a wonderful example he set for the young scholars and leaders who will be shaped by his courage, his wisdom, his determination as they go through the journey of making American society stronger. So on behalf again of our Coca-Cola family, thank you for the privilege and honor of walking alongside you to achieve the goals of this institute. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Cobra, and it is my absolute honor to bring you greetings on behalf of Verizon. Thank you, Melanie and your team, for having us here today. And I am so pleased and honored to be in the company of so many amazing leaders, especially as we remember Thomas Dortch. This is my first time visiting Clark Atlanta University. I am a loud and proud HBCU graduate, and I feel a very, very special pride being on this beautiful campus today. One of my Verizon colleagues reminded me that Verizon has a deep relationship with Clark Atlanta University, and we are happy that this institute is another shining star in our relationship with Clark Atlanta. Over the years, we've supported programming, events, academics, programs such as your cyber physical systems degree and scholarship initiatives. And most recently, we partnered to help fund the William E. Shack Close the Gap Student Scholarship Luncheon. Verizon continues to foster digital inclusion also right here on this campus with our Verizon Innovative Learning program, and we host our STEM Achievers program here to help with entrepreneurial skills to local middle school students. And now, this is another pillar and feather in the cap of Clark Atlanta University. We are proud to sponsor this institute and support the incredibly impactful and important work that you will be doing in communities across the country. Thank you for your work in the trenches, mobilizing communities to political action. We are confident that the Institute will continue to spread your reach further and deeper. Thank you again for having me, and I look forward to the rest of the programming today and tomorrow.
Good afternoon. I'm Stacy Cole, Senior Director of Government and Community Affairs for Comcast. First, let me thank President French and the Clark Atlanta University family for hosting today's activities and for the support and partnership of the launching of the Institute. Next, let me thank Melanie Campbell for her vision and leadership in shaping the Southern Regional Office that will be premier institution amplifying civic engagement and the urgent issues affecting Black communities. And a special thanks to Getchell Caldwell, for founding director of the Institute, and all of the NCBCP leaders and staff that have worked tirelessly to get us to this launch day. Lastly, I want to thank the late Thomas W. Dortch Jr. It was just over a year ago that we were all here dedicating this building in his honor. His unwavering commitment to our community and the legacy will live on through the great works of this institute as it shapes the next generation of young leaders tackling many civil rights issues impacting our times. For Comcast, this means continuing the work that we've done, 12 years addressing digital inequities in under-resourced communities and promoting digital equity. Currently, 92% of all jobs require digital skills, yet nearly 1/3 of U.S. workers lack basic digital skills, and regrettably, overwhelmingly number of those individuals are members of communities of color. That's why in 2021, we introduced Project Up, our comprehensive initiative to advance digital equity to help build the future of unlimited possibilities. Project Up is backed by $1 billion over the next 10 years to reach tens of millions of people from low-income families with tools and resources they need to shape the future in this increasingly digital world. We know that our partnerships with national and local organizations like the NCBCP have been critical to our ability to educate low-income families about the importance of internet access at home and provide core digital literacy skills. By supporting education, equity, focused organizations, we are creating pathways to opportunities for underrepresented communities. We are excited about the Institute's launch of the Hope and Justice Fellowship Program this fall, which will include tech fellows and fellows who will engage in research and work to connect more communities to the unlimited possibilities of the internet. The Comcast family is honored to be a founding sponsor of the NCBCP Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute for Leadership, Civic Engagement, Economic Empowerment, and Social Justice Institute. And I am so incredibly proud of the amazing work that Comcast is doing in this space and more excited about the continued partnership with this institution. We look forward to working with you in the future and the Clark Atlanta family. Thank you.
Again, wanted to acknowledge Deborah Tyler Horton, who's the Georgia State Director of ARP, and just wave your hand. I think she's still here. She may have had to leave, but give her a hand in absentia. And shout out to Edna Kane Williams, who, in DC, who was the one who signed off on them becoming a partner. Next, team, we have our last two sponsors who, help me out. What am I doing? Technology is great, but I don't know what to do. Okay, thank you, perfect. All right, so we're going to hear from Kimma Dennis Morial, Director, Public Affairs, AT&T Services Incorporated, and following her, Kristen Little, Vice President, Sustainable Finance Group, Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women Initiative. Kimma?
Yes, thank you, Melanie. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, everybody
Okay,
here?
great. So my name is Kimma Dennis Morial, and I am proud to serve as Director of Global Public Affairs at AT&T, and it is an honor to represent the company on this momentous occasion. As the Director of Global Public Affairs at AT&T, I have the privilege of collaborating with organizations like the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. I would like to thank the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation for inviting AT&T to be a part of the program today, as well as recognize all of the amazing partners here today who work tirelessly to make this day possible. Though Thomas W. Dortch Jr. never held public office, he was affectionately called by some Mr. Atlanta. He was a respected figure in Atlanta and dedicated his life to serving his community. As we all know, Mr. Dortch spent most of his time mentoring and creating opportunities for Black youth. A connector and facilitator, he was most of all a trusted voice and leader, not only in Atlanta, but around the country. So it is no surprise that the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Clark Atlanta University has named the institute after Mr. Dortch. Atlanta has long been known as the hub of the South, and this is a community AT&T is proud to have heavily invested in. Mr. Dortch was an essential partner in that work, and we're proud to see his legacy continue. My colleague Tanya Lombard, VP of Global External and Public Affairs, wanted to be here but couldn't due to business travel, serves on both the NCBCP and HBC alumni boards, which were under Mr. Dortch's direction. As a trusted partner of AT&T for many years, Mr. Dortch supported AT&T on a number of broadband initiatives, and we will always cherish the partnership. Digital connectivity is essential to providing equity of opportunity, and we can't thank the NCBCP and Black Women's Roundtable enough for their work to bridge the digital divide. On behalf of AT&T, I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to Melanie Campbell for her incredible leadership in this space, and we look forward to supporting her and the NCBCP in the fulfillment of the Institute's overall mission and the Black Women's Roundtable Digital Equity Project initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimma. Kristen?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kristen Little. I'm a vice president at Goldman Sachs and help to lead strategic partnerships for 1 Million Black Women. 1 Million Black Women is Goldman's $10 billion investment commitment and $100 million philanthropic commitment designed to impact the lives of at least 1 million Black women by 2030. I'm very sorry to not be there in person, but I'm very happy to be joining virtually in support of the launch of the Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute and its leader, Melanie Campbell, who has been an incredible champion of 1 Million Black Women. As a member of our advisory council, Melanie has helped to guide our work for the last 2 years, and we're so proud to partner with her, the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. Today, in particular, I'm excited to talk about our newly formed partnership with Black Women's Roundtable on digital connectivity. As everyone has mentioned, this is a very important issue, and it's also a key focus for us, for 1 Million Black Women. So BWR will be working across grassroots organizations across Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Virginia, to champion for newly appropriated funding for broadband expansion and to ensure that it is equitably deployed across underserved communities. So our goal together is to have Black women enjoy equitable and sustained access to economic growth and security through digital connectivity opportunities in healthcare, education, entrepreneurship, and employment. We will also be tracking these outcomes and conducting research as we carry out this work with BWR, so that's very exciting. This project will provide tangible and impactful research and engagement opportunities for graduate and undergraduate students at HBCUs, as well as for community organizers across those 5 states through doctoral fellowships, graduate assistantships, undergraduate internships, and community leader fellowships. Also, last but not least, in addition to our partnership with Black Women's Roundtable, 1 Million Black Women looks forward to partnering with the U.S. Department of Commerce on our first digital connectivity listening session in a few weeks on June 21st. This will be a public session used to gather feedback in connection with federal Digital Equity Act programs. We look forward to having Melanie's participation in that listening session as a panelist and expert, and encourage everyone to attend and provide your feedback. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kristen. Can we give Kristen and Kemma a thank you? One of our longtime friends who's in the media space, but in this moment, even though Tommy was an Omega, he's an Alpha. Dr. French is an Alpha, right? Or am I messing up? He's an Alpha, right? So he get Alpha privileges today. Wanted to bring a few words, and then we'll bring on our team. We said we're open for business, so I want to introduce you to the team. Roland Martin Unfiltered, and so much more. Thank you, Roland, for all you do, speaking truth to power and providing a platform. I remember to talk about utilizing and seeing a vision. He had a vision, and people didn't quite get it, but we got it early, and want you to bring some words, Roland.
So glad to see everyone here. Tom and I used to always joke because he did choose a youth group, being Omega. I would always tell him, Alpha's your daddy. You always know that. And if he was here, he'd be cracking up laughing at that as well. This is critically important because what this speaks to is the need for us to mobilize and organize in a totally, completely different way, and really actually going back to the future, if you will. I was standing here thinking about Dr. King's book, Why We Can't Wait, and we've been having these conversations about how we cannot wait until next year, can't wait until the fall of 2024, because if you look at what's happening all across southern states, the impact on African Americans with public policy is grave. Whether you're talking about the health of Black women in Mississippi, whether you're talking about voting in Florida, my native Texas, the craziness that's happening there. And what we have is we have people who are already there. We have numbers, but they simply have not been properly activated, motivated, and also educated. We spend lots of time telling people to vote, but I can't vote unless you're registered. And I can't get you to register unless I educate you on why you need to be voting. And so one of the things that we do with Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network is connect the dots. And so by aligning ourselves with activists and organizations like the National Coalition, the Black Women's Roundtable, and so many others, it's about using the media's voice to be able to sort of drive the messaging because so many people literally don't understand what is happening. So when somebody says that, well, picking a Black woman to the Supreme Court is performative politics, not understanding the role that one federal judge, the power that they have. So when one judge in Amarillo issues a ruling that stops the abortion pill all across the country, you understand the power of that one federal judge. And so we spend a lot of time doing that. And so we're going to need to do that in a huge way between now and 2024 because the laws that are being passed every single day have an adverse impact. I'm born and raised in Houston, and when you have a legislature in Texas that literally passes a law to target one county out of 254, which has the most Black people in the state, that tells you right there, again, what is happening. So so this is absolutely needed, and I think in terms of how we grow from here is going to be important, but it's just going to come down to, again, us mobilize and organize our people, and getting them to understand is that we cannot be silent and then think it's somebody else is going to do it. No, this is something that we actually have to do for ourselves every single day.
Thank you, Roland. And so And now we introduce, so who's going to be doing this work, right? So Carol, Carol, you know, we've been doing 2.5 years coming back and forth, and you know, you're out looking and you're looking and you're looking, and then you look across the table and say, you need to do this. You've been doing this. So it is my really honor and pleasure to introduce to you all our founding director of the Institute, Getchell L. Caldwell II. He's a former Senior Vice President for Institutional Advancement and University Relationships here at Clark Atlanta University. He was Vice Chancellor for Advancement and Executive Director for Fayetteville State University Foundation. He's helped folks with fundraising and grant writing and all that. He was Vice President for Advancement at Tuskegee University. Have I missed anything? He's Johnson C. Smith. He's a graduate of Clark Atlanta University class of '79, and undergrad from Florida, FAMU, Cleola Brown, political science major. And more importantly, he's just a good brother who believes in utilizing all of his talents and gifts that God has given him. So I'm gonna have him come up and introduce the senior advisors who will make remarks. And also, I want to take a moment, and I didn't do this earlier. I think it's important. This is also our Southern Regional Office. So, Alabama, is Sheila Tyson here? Okay, Sheila Tyson, give her a hand. Letitia Daniels Jackson, those are our conveners in Alabama. In Florida, we have Solange Benton, who's here from Florida Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Louisiana, we have my brother Vincent Sylvain, who runs our affiliate there, Louisiana Unity Coalition. Georgia's deep. Georgia, I don't think Helen's here, but Georgia, Helen Butler, Executive Director. Oh, she is, Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. Deborah Scott, who's our partner with Georgia Stand Up. Felicia Davis, who does our Clayton County, Georgia Black Women's Roundtable, also leads HBCU Green Fund. Who I missed? Mississippi, Cassandra Welchland, if she's in the house. And Virginia, and Krista Jones, who's here from Virginia. And I'm going to say they Southern anyway, and that's our folks who lead our Maryland, D.C. country, y'all too. Just say what you want to. Everybody come from up south, and you be in North Carolina all the time. Reverend Tony Lee, who's here, who also serves on the board of the National Coalition and helps lead our work in Virginia, in Maryland and D.C. Have I missed any Southern states? Okay. And, oh, don't forget labor. I'm gonna get in trouble, right? So one of our the national coalitions was started by AFL-CIO, NACP, Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, and 35 organizations. So all of our organizations that are here, that are new or old and part of that institution building, wave your hands if you're in here. I see NBCSL. Who else do I see? I see APRI. Was asked me. Who else in here? Labor. Oh, I see your cap. CBTU. Have I missed any other? And then, of course, I said NBCSL, but National Black Caucus of State Legislators. So glad you all are here. See Paula back there. Have I missed any other organizations who are part of the National Coalition? So I will turn this over now to Getchell, I was gonna say Vincent, Getchell Caldwell II. He didn't make sure put the second on his name, right? Okay, and you will introduce.
Yes. Thank you so much, Melanie. This is really a profound opportunity. I'm returning to Clark Atlanta University. Is Dr. French still in the house? Well, but I wanted to make sure, Lucas, that the invitation by Melanie Campbell, Dr. French, and sanctioned by Mr. Dortch, that I take on this assignment is probably one of the greatest honor of my life, Carol. I've been at many institutions, done many things. all senior level positions. But it's amazing when God kind of have you look at yourself in the mirror, and then in one ear you got Melanie over here, and you know Melanie got a strong voice, and she believes what she believes. Trust me. The other ear was Tommy, and then you had Dr. French. So all good leaders got to have a sidekick. So I'm the sidekick, okay? I get to do the heavy lifting along with obviously a group of dedicated people, all of whom are associated with the National Coalition on Black Civic Engagement. This assignment is so dear to me because deep down inside, I'm an academic and I'm a researcher. When I was a graduate student here at Atlanta University from 77 to 79, we were required in the public administration program to tackle on a problem with a public agency. I had the wonderful opportunity to be assigned to the mayor's office, and he then assigned me to the Department of Public Safety. My graduate thesis reorganized the Department of Public Safety, and it is on file up in the Woodruff Library. So this returns me to my academic career, if you will. But it also balances me with what needs to be my God-driven commitment, and that is helping people that look like me, because people help me. So I didn't just get to this place without the help of others, and I'm standing on a lot of shoulders. In fact, I will say this very respectfully. It has been intimated that Tommy's looking down. I want to correct that. Tommy's in the room. That's right. And I remember a wonderful conversation he and I had right there at that counter prior to him leaving us. And we had an activation that the National Coalition put on with a lot of young people. They were monitoring voting patterns in southern cities. And I had never seen anything like it, because here it is, these little black kids were on the phone with state leaders. They were getting feedback about what was happening. Melanie had it all organized. They were feeding it to a system, and we were learning the true pulse of what was happening in our communities and at our polls. How real can you get in terms of working on the ground? But that was done through coalition building, and that's a strong suit of the National Coalition on Black Civic Engagement. The other part that is so exciting about this assignment is that I am anchored by and with three extraordinary academicians of their own right. And so for that, I'm going to introduce each of them to come up and give a little blurb about who they are. First up, and this is all about Clark Atlanta, I'm sorry, because you go get people where you know somebody, okay? We had a planning retreat up in Martha's Vineyard, and actually Dr. Tommy was on the phone, Dr. French was on the phone, and then Melanie assembled a group of her team and advisors together. So when we thought about an institute and what it would mean, we gave a lot of thought into this, and that's how we came up with the 4 pillars. So today I am pleased to bring forward first Dr. Elsie Scott. She's a 1980 graduate of Atlanta University, and she's going to lead us off. And then I'll come back and close it out for the programmatic part. Dr. Elsie Scott.
Thank you, Getchell. I'm tempted to say, like Nina Simone, enough said. Because I know those of you who've been standing in the back and in all the heat are saying, enough said. But they're not going to allow me to just walk up here and walk away. So I'll say a few words. I serve as secretary of the board, and I'm very pleased to be a part, as a senior advisor to this project here at Clark Atlanta University. As Getchell mentioned, I received my PhD from the old Atlanta University in 1980. And you look back at the history of Atlanta University before it was merged with Clark, so many people that you will meet receive their masters, so many black people receive their masters or their PhDs from the programs here at Clark Atlanta University. So I'm very pleased to be able to come back and help to develop the fellowship program here. And we are excited because it's not a traditional fellowship program where we're just training our students to do research. We also have them engaged in their communities, looking at how do we bring in organizers to train them on how to be political organizers. We're also looking at the whole, how do we deal with this whole social justice issue? And that's how I got into social justice here at Atlanta University. I wrote my doctoral dissertation looking at Maynard Jackson and how he had dealt with the police here after becoming mayor of Atlanta. So, you know, we bring a lot of circles together through this institute. And I was fortunate to study under Dr. Mac Jones. Many of you don't know that there are only two HBCUs that offer PhDs in political science. That's Howard University, where I work now, and Clark Atlanta University. And so we're developing at Howard the Ron Walters Center on Leadership and Public Policy. So we hope to be doing a lot of things together between the two institutions. But the program here is going to be more expansive because we'll be dealing with more than being a think tank, more than just doing a lot of academic research. So I want to thank Melanie for this opportunity. I want to thank Dr. French for his engagement. And I want to thank the Clark Atlanta University family for embracing this project here on the campus. And we look forward to working with the whole Clark Atlanta University family. And we want to thank all of the sponsors who've made this financially possible. We're looking forward to doing great things. Thank you.
Next up, we have a vivacious young lady by the name of D.C. Marshall. She is CEO of Diverse and Engaged, and an award-winning business owner, author, contributor to CNBC, Forbes, Fortune magazine, senior advisor to the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, and she's a recipient of an award from the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. And Dr. French was at her ceremony when she got that award. She is a senior advisor extraordinaire, D. Marshall.
Well, thank you. And actually, I'll start here. I'll pick up the award. Thank you so much to the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. It was an award of the coalition. Thank you, Melanie Campbell. The board, and I'll say this without getting emotional, it was actually the spirit of democracy. It was a chairman's award. And the award was given by the late Thomas W. Dortch, Jr. And it was such an honor in his final months that Melanie Campbell and this organization would honor him. And so, and that is the reason that we are here today. So not a somber moment, but it is a moment of celebrating that we are here and his legacy lives on. This is a powerful day. And so we just honor, and we are so very grateful to you, Melanie, for carrying the vision. And some of this that I know you all intended to do side by side, and so we're so honored to be here, and we thank you for Mrs. Dortch for also for being here. So my name is D.C. Marshall. I'm the CEO at Diverse and Engage, where we speak 3 languages: leadership development, workplace culture, and diversity and inclusion. And we do the work with Fortune 500 corporations to really support corporations, but also to hold space, hold space, for Black and brown and underrepresented and marginalized groups in corporate America. Say yes or yes, somebody. Yes. And that is why this is also so very powerful to be here today, because while we do that work in corporate America, we also hold a very sweet space to really support the work that is being done here at the coalition. And so today, say today on this historical day at the launch and the official inauguration of what is going to happen after, that is the convening, I am so very delighted to be here. And so, in brief, I'll share what my role is as a senior advisor for economic empowerment. And so, again, just to reiterate, what is happening here is the launch, not only of the Institute, but the programming. And so what are we doing here at the Institute? So we have several pillars that we are going to champion here at the Thomas W. Dortch Institute on Clark Atlanta University campus. And one of those pillars, of which I have the pleasure of leading, is the economic empowerment pillar. And what does that mean? What are we doing here? What are we moving towards? Why are we here? Our role in this specific pillar is to really look at the financial wealth and well-being and progress for Black people. That's it. That's the charge. I'll say it again. What is my task as senior advisor specifically for this pillar, the economic empowerment? Because I can't do what Dr. Elsie Scott does. I can't do what Joycelyn does and all of the other amazing people, but I am an entrepreneur. I am a businesswoman, so I understand. And so I have been tasked to lead this, and we are going to look at the economic space in terms of where we are, how we are faring, and how it is that we help our people and help our people in the southern region, specifically in and around neighboring HBCUs. Say HBCU. Okay, sidebar, I did not go to an HBCU, but I feel I got my HBCU. I'm claiming Clark Atlanta. Listen, I'm claiming CAU, but that is the work. So we'll look at not just Clark Atlanta, because the Southern Institute is specifically focused on the region, but looking at all of the HBCUs in the region and the neighboring communities to help our people, because that's where our people are. And what will we do? We will leverage the research. You all know that CAU is a research institution and social justice, and Melanie has been led to lead us in this way. So we look at the research. What are some of the social trends? Okay, so sidebar, I'm gonna be one more minute. Right now, what is happening in Florida, and how will that impact Black and brown communities? How will it impact Black communities specifically? If you can't say diversity, and we know that there are specific opportunities to look after our people going to work and such, do you get it now? So we look at those trends, develop thought leadership that is part of what is happening here, and then we will use that for experiential learning and specifically entrepreneurship. And so our goal is to collaborate with local community-based organizations and collegiate students, HBCUs, to deliver, say deliver, entrepreneurship training and support to help our people, so that we can build our own work, our own wealth. And so that is what I am tasked to do. I'm super excited. Again, I did not go to an HBCU, Rev. I did not. But I went to another historically Black institution. They call it the street. So I have street cred. Okay, we running a whole business. Okay, we run a whole business, employing real people, and we cut checks. Okay, and then we serve our community. So I'm delighted. Thank you so much to all of the sponsors. And until next time, my name is DC Marshall.
And Tommy got with Dr. William Picard, who's one of our investors in the Institute. And the director was, they wanted to use that for the economic empowerment component. So I want to make sure I lift up Dr. William Picard. Is it junior? Junior. Dr. William Picard, Jr., who serves as on the trustee board here at Clark, and Tommy was very close. And so I want to lift his name in this moment.
Awesome.
And lastly, we have Jocelyn Tate. They've been working with me on that. She's a leading voice on digital equity and inclusion. She is the co-founder of Make It for Change policy and advisor for the Black Women's Roundtable, and the program manager for the Black Women's Roundtable Racial and Gender Digital Equity Connectivity and Women's Empowerment Project. My colleague, Ms. Tate.
Thank you, Getchell. And let me say, Getchell almost got it right. I'm Joycelyn Tate. Right. And as he said, I am an advisor on tech policy, and I am also the co-founder of Make It for Change Innovation Hub, where we teach people in the community how to create social impact with technology. Today, I'm really excited because I've been working with Melanie for over 10 years on tech policy and digital equity. So when this opportunity came to lead this program, I was super excited. So I'm just going to tell you really briefly what the pillars are and what the components are of this program. The National Coalition's Black Women's Roundtable Racial and Gender Digital Equity, Connectivity, and Women's Economic Empowerment Project. What it will do is champion, for one thing, the deployment of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment Act's $65 billion in federal funding that's going to be used to increase adoption and broadband across the country. What this program is going to do is we are going to make sure that that money is equitably invested in unserved and underserved communities that the Black Women's Roundtable serves. So there are 4 components of this program. I'm just going to briefly tell you what those components are. The digital equity components are, first, we have our state coordinating committees. These committees will engage with state broadband offices as they're planning out where this money will go, and we want to make sure that that federal money funding for the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program and the Digital Equity Act is invested in the communities that the Black Women's Roundtable serves in the South, and we're particularly focusing on serving Black women. The second component of this program is our Digital Equity Connectivity Outreach and Awareness Campaign, which will inform and encourage eligible households, particularly Black women-headed eligible households, to sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program and the Lifeline Program, which are 2 programs that are offered by the federal government to give them discounts on internet access in their home. The third component of the program is the Digital Equity and Connectivity Research, which will be conducted by the Institute's Hope and Justice Fellows, who will manage and research and focus on how federal broadband funding will impact digital equity and connectivity in the U.S., and particularly in the southern states. And this research will also assess the Black Women's Roundtable's engagement and outreach activities for this program. The fourth and final component of our program is the digital empowerment training. This will provide women and girls with training on computer literacy skills that they need to effectively participate in the job market and the digital economy, and provide digital skills for Black women and girl entrepreneurs to effectively manage and promote their businesses. I am very excited to embark on this project, and I look forward to fulfilling this project's mission to see that federal funding is invested in our communities, the communities here in the South that the Black Women's Roundtable serves, and empowering Black girls and women to advance their lives in the digital economy, and also to chronicle these Black and American history-making events right here at this institute. Thank you so much.
Can we give our team a hand? And we will have a senior advisor for social justice and a senior advisor for civic engagement. This concludes our press conference to officially open the Institute. And now, so thank you, Getchell, and thank you, team, and thank you, everyone. We'll open it up for press for any questions. Any questions from the media? You want anybody? Okay. You good? You got quite a bit, right? We answered all your questions, but I would be remiss because I do this work and to lift up my 2 sisters. Dr. Clark was my oldest sister, Diane Forsh, class of '74, and Reverend Dr. Judith Moore, class of '75, who taught me how to be a rabble rouser, Carol. had me walk around with, Black Power and God when I was 10. So we are here, and I thank them for that. Thank you all for coming. And following this is our inaugural Southern convening, organizing convening, leadership convening, where we have over 100 leaders from state-based and national organizations who are here. We have about 40 partners who are bought into this idea of coming together annually across movements, across various movements, to take the time to strategize, organize, collaborate, and partner. And the power of coalition is something that can change this nation at a time when we're such under attack. And so thank you, and God bless you, and thank you so very much. And one more thank you.
Yeah, one thank you. I wanted to certainly thank everybody who worked on this project. We have an amazing team.
Where you at?
I think a lot of our team are in the workroom.
Tanya Tyson, where are you? Tanya Tyson,
Where's Tanya?
come on up.
Where's Daryl?
Daryl Coles, Angelo Greco, Lon Walls, Tyrese Johnson.
They're all outside.
Okay.
And also,
Even though she's not on the staff, she's been wonderful. Cecilia Cheeks.
And my
Mustafa
entire
Hafiz.
formal staff, many of you took time. Many of you took time from your vacation schedules because you wanted to help out.
Yes.
That's what they do at Clark Atlanta. So all of those that I used to have a previous working relationship, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because we're going to do great work together. Thank you so much.
And okay, all the sponsors that are left, come up. But I want to we can pull this up. And so those watching, tune in again. If you're watching, come back and tune in at 4 o'clock when we start our inaugural Southern organizing leadership convening on the campus of Clark Atlanta University.
They want to do it outside.
You want to do it outside? Yes. Okay. So we're going to go outside for the sponsors. I want the board members and everyone. We had a great shot. So we'll come outside. Thank you all so very much. We're open for business.